Good morning, everybody. This is Anna Sothen with RVA Connected, and I am super excited this morning to be interviewing my very good friend, Monica Vanderpool, that I've known for a couple years. But you
hmm
know how when you meet those individuals and they like come into your space and they're not necessarily like in your space at the first meeting, but then they become a more integral part. I feel like that's what's happening with us. I don't know, at least on my end. That's
Well,
what's
I feel like
happening.
it,
So
it's kind of grown organically for
it
sure.
has,
You
yeah.
know,
And I'm excited for what you're doing. I'm excited for the things that we're going to do together as well
yes,
too.
absolutely. We've got some big things planned.
We do. So tell
Mhm.
everybody who you are.
My name is Monica Vanderpool. I am 46 years old. Currently, I have a diesel mechanic shop, which sounds so odd coming out of my mouth, but I have. But there's a story behind that. And then I also started Glitch Mob podcast that actually today is my release date.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
today's our release.
I'm honored that
Yes,
you're doing my podcast on your podcast release date.
I know. So we'll release a podcast every Friday.
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
And you and I got to do, or I got to be a guest on your podcast just last week. And I
hmm
feel like like I got a lot of compliments from individuals who saw it. They
Good.
were like, "Oh my God, that's so good." So yeah. And they're like, "I
Yeah.
see you all over the place. Where were you this morning? You were on like some radio show or something."
Right. I will
So
say I love having conversations with you because I don't know what it is. Like we don't plan for it.
we do not.
Like today we've got a main subject that, we're going to try and hit on, but like our conversations are just so organic and they just flow.
Yes,
And you're
I love
very
that.
easy to talk to. So what you're doing in the community is, I mean, you're very God's blessed you for sure.
Well, thank you. I
Yes.
feel highly blessed and favored for sure. So
hmm
thank you. I love
hmm
it when other people recognize me. It humbles me to have somebody somebody reached out to me yesterday and they said, "Hey, I'm looking for this." And I respect your opinion and I really look like I respect your opinion. That's what he said. And I know that you know everybody. So to have somebody say that to me a couple years ago, I would have turned around and been like, are you talking to the right person? Because you're talking to me, right? But I've learned to, and this is going to be some of the conversation that we have today, to receive it, right? Because when
Uh-huh.
somebody gives you a compliment, if you immediately say, even as something as like innocuous as, oh my gosh, I really love your shirt that you're wearing today, and you're like, oh, this old thing, or oh, I got
Right.
it at TJ Maxx and it was $5. You're taking that blessing away from that person who
For
felt
sure.
compelled
Yep.
to give you a
hmm
compliment or to give you a blessing. And then you basically said, no, thank you. And when I
Right.
learned that, like when somebody said that to me, I was like, oh my gosh, I never want that
hmm
to do that to another human being. So thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
recognizing what I'm
I
doing.
actually I had to learn how to receive blessings. I somewhere along the way, I had it in my head that Monica, be a blessing, be a blessing, be a blessing. And I always wanted to give blessings. And
Right.
it wasn't until my adult life where I had to learn to you know, I need to be able to receive blessings also.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I get
Absolutely.
that.
So you're a business owner. Obviously, you shared that
Mhm.
you own a diesel company and you just started Glitch. So tell us a little bit about your journey with the companies that you own.
Well, let's see. How far back should I go? I'll give you the Cliff Note version.
Okay.
Um, well, we were a military family growing up. So my dad was getting ready to retire when I started college. So I
Okay.
actually started college I went to VCU here in Richmond, and I was in the pharmacy program at
Oh,
MCV.
okay.
My plan was to be a pharmacist.
Okay.
So I had an RTC scholarship.
Okay.
Um, and then, I mean, I was what, 19, 20. And I had it in my head that I did not want to go in the military. Like I didn't want to do all the traveling that we had done growing up,
Right.
which was honestly the best thing for me. Like
Yeah,
traveling in the military is just it's a blessing.
it
So
is.
anyway, at the time I was like, you know what? I don't want this ROTC scholarship. So if I turn down the scholarship, I was like, I'm not going to be able to afford pharmacy school.
Gotcha.
I've always, science and math are my two, like those are my subjects.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I want to go into accounting, and I wanted to be a forensic accountant.
Oh,
And I remember calling my dad one day and I was like, Dad, I'm going to turn down my scholarship. I had gotten accepted into the School of Pharmacy at
okay.
MCV. And I told myself I'm going to make this decision before I open up this envelope. I made the
Okay.
decision and I opened up the envelope and it said that I was accepted. And I was like, I'm gonna stick to my word. So my dad was like, that's fine, but you're gonna move back home. And I'm like, okay, because I'm a daddy's girl. So at the time they were at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Okay.
So I moved back home and I finished my schooling at Austin Peay State, which is in Clarksville, Tennessee. They're like right on the
Okay.
border with each other. So anyway, so my degree is business administration with a concentration in accounting.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, when I graduated, I felt like I knew nothing.
Yeah, I agreed. When I
Yeah. And
graduated, I felt like I knew nothing.
and until like I got into the real world, like I felt like I didn't know anything. So my first job out of college, I audited utility companies.
Oh, that's super exciting.
No, it's not. That just sounds boring. Like I audited utility
Right.
companies. Like that just sounds boring, but I
Yes.
did it. And then during tax season, they'd pull me in to do taxes.
Okay.
Um, and I was just like, this is not jiving with my personality. Because I like to be around people, I'm outgoing. It was just a little too stuffy for me. Nothing against auditors, nothing against CPAs. I think, there's a need, they're very gifted. It just didn't match
Absolutely.
my personality.
Yeah.
So anyway, fast forward, I had gotten married. I had my first child. This was 22 years ago. I had my first son, Carson, and that marriage didn't work out. So I moved back home.
Okay.
And somewhere in there, I felt guilty. I moved back to Tennessee for literally 30 days. We
Oh,
moved into a house. There was a tornado that came through Clarksville, and it took my neighbor. If you looked at an aerial view of our neighborhood, it took the roof off of my house, and my
wow.
roof was scattered all around the neighborhood. And I was like, you know what? This is my sign that Monica, just go back home. Go back home. So I came back home. I had to live with my parents. So I was a
Okay.
single mom. It was me and Carson. My house was destroyed. So, but I still had to pay for the mortgage payment.
Oh,
So I
fine.
had a nice, solid job. I worked at Bon Secours. And I woke up one day and I've always been a God-fearing woman. And I was praying and something told me I was in a networking group. And
Okay.
there was a fellow in there that had a promotional company
Okay.
where he sold like pins, cups, mugs, keychains, screen print embroidery, things of that nature. And him and I just always connected, on a business networking level. And he had an opportunity he was bringing on new sales reps. And I came home and I was like, Dad, like I said, I'm very close to my dad. And, I credit a lot of my success and a lot of my knowledge to my dad. He imparted a lot of knowledge on me and, he was very successful and, a lot of that kind of trickled down to me. So anyway, I sat down at the kitchen table and I remember this conversation like it was yesterday. And I said, Dad, I think I'm going to quit my job, my job that paid a really good salary. And I said, I think I'm going to be a sales rep for a promotional company and it's a commission only job. And he was like,
That's
Monica Dale. That's my middle name, Monica Dale. It was the first time that I went against what my dad said.
oh,
It's like,
okay.
Dad, I don't know what it is, but something's telling me to do this. So I quit my nice stable job, and out of faith, I joined this promotional company and went to a commission only sales job. While still having a full mortgage, I had to put Carson in daycare during the day. I was like, but I'm gonna do it. So Started with him. I was with him. Oh God, it was Atlantic Logo Wear. A year? I cannot
Okay.
remember. But anyway, I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm tired of sharing my profits. And I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
Monica, you've got the background. You know how to start a business, or at least I thought I did. So I was like,
Right.
I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna stop sharing my profits and I'm gonna do it all myself. So that right there is what kind of it just kicked in for me because
Okay.
I knew I'm a single mom. I'm doing this on my own and like failure's not an option for me.
Right. Yeah.
So I remember I woke up, that's when like the hustle, I think, really started. And I would get up and I would pick a certain industry every week. You know, like one week I would pick car dealerships and I would wake up, I'd drop Carson off at daycare and I would hit all the car dealerships. You know, the next week I would pick insurance agencies. You know,
Okay.
like that was my plan. I've always been really big about like writing down, you know, these are my goals. This is how I'm going to get there. So I literally did that every single week, just stayed consistent. And then the next thing you know, the name of the company was Richmond Promotional Products.
Okay.
And next thing you know, I was like, you know, I've got $1 million company on my hands.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All from an inkling or a God nudge.
It was. It was a God
Yeah.
nudge. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
everything I knew about myself, I wouldn't have done it because when I sat down at that kitchen table with my dad and he was like, Monica, no, you're not doing this. And
so
I
what
went,
did your
so
dad
he
say
did.
after it became this huge success?
I mean, he was proud of me.
Yeah. Of
He
course he
was
was.
very proud of me. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
what could he say?
Right. Yeah.
You know, like what could he say? But he was my biggest fan. Him and my mom both, they were my biggest fan.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's always good to have individuals, whether it be parents or siblings or friends, that really support you. They may not necessarily agree with what you're doing, but they're always going to
Right.
support you because they love you. So
Yeah.
that's
And
important to
that was
have.
the actually, ooh, I might cry on this one. Before he passed away right when COVID hit. And it was when you couldn't go in the hospitals. So
Hmm.
He FaceTimed me. And
Gotcha.
I knew what was going on. And the very last thing he said to me was how proud he was of me. Next subject.
Next subject,
But
and we're going to do a wedding.
it was the very last thing he said to me. So I was like, I'm right where I need to be.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, but anyway, so now I forgot the question that you even asked me because I got on this tangent.
Well, no. So we talked about you created Richmond Promotional Products. You
Mhm.
also had, was it HCM? Is that the
Right.
acronym
Okay.
for, right? So
Yep.
you own that, and then now you own Dieselworks, and then you own Glitch. And so
Mhm.
I've watched you. I obviously didn't know you when you had Richmond Promotional Products, but I've seen what you did with HCM, and now I'm seeing what you do with Diesel, and now I get to witness what you do even closer and more up and
Mhm.
personal with what you're doing with Glitch. And so I want to talk a little. So you've talked a little bit about that, right? The God nudge, the intuition of the hit of like, I should be doing something different because right now where I am, it just doesn't feel good to me, right? And I've come up with this phrase and I've said it. I don't necessarily always follow it, but I say that I'm never going to square peg round hole anything in my life ever again,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I'm not going to try to just make it work, whether it be friendships, relationships, business relationships, whatever, a pair of pants. Like if they don't feel comfortable, I'm not wearing them, right?
Yeah.
And so you've done that, and not a lot of people have. I don't know if it's courage or if it's foresight or what the word is, but some people will get that. Like I've had nudges before, and my ego, which I call edging God out, it
Mhm.
says, "Oh, you know better. You, human Anna, knows better than what your inkling and what your intuition is telling you."
You
So
try to
how did
rationalize it.
you do, right?
Mhm.
Yes, you start thinking of the pros and cons because we've been taught that. hey, if you have to come to a decision, sit down and write down the pros and cons about each side and
Right.
figure out which side is higher than the other. But how did you get to the point where you were, when you felt the inkling, you knew to take action?
Mhm.
Was there a certain spot in your life or point in your life where, like, okay, I'm going to start doing it? Or was it more of a gradual, and then you just realize that's something that you do?
Well, so that moment at the kitchen table with my dad,
Okay.
I will say that that was the scariest. I've never been afraid to take risk.
Okay.
I actually like, and I love change. Like I thrive in change. And with HCM, HCM, that's something that, I did with my husband at the time. And him and I both we love change. We love risk. We were a really good team together. And that's one reason why HCM is healthcare construction management. That is one reason why that company just exploded. But that day at the kitchen table with my dad, I was the most scared. Am I saying that correctly? I was the most scared.
Okay.
And fast forward, when I transitioned from Richmond Promotional Products into HCM, I had a little more confidence.
Okay.
And I wasn't as scared to start that. I
Okay.
was just like, boop, boop, and I knew nothing about construction, but I taught myself I taught myself what you
Right.
need. I taught myself what I needed to know, and I aligned myself with the right people to get to where I need to go. And
I
just like
love
now
that.
with the diesel mechanic shop, I, honestly, I couldn't even change my tire right now. I'm embarrassed to say that, but if I had to go change my tire, I wouldn't even know what to do. But you align yourself with the right people,
Right.
and I don't know. I guess to answer your question, I just over time, a lot of faith in God, a lot
Hmm.
of trust in God. And I know that if He's going to plant this seed and plant this desire in me, then it's not even, I'm just a vessel. That's all I
Right.
am, is a vessel. And I wake up every morning and I say, Lord, use me. And it's gotten to me where I am today.
Yeah. I tell people all the time that you're never going to wake up with whatever it is that you have on your heart. Like if you all of a sudden I had like an intuitive hit today when I was doing yoga, right? I could dismiss that, or I could take that as, oh, okay, this is God, this is spirit, universe, whatever it is that you want to use, telling me something. Like, let me pay attention to that, right? And so
Mhm.
you could edge it out and say, no, I know better, or you could just choose to move forward and do better. And not do better, but do something different that again gets in you more in an alignment of who
Mhm.
you want to be and how you want to show up. God will never put a dream on your heart that He doesn't already know you are 150% capable of accomplishing.
All right. And everything that you need is already inside you.
Already inside of you.
Mhm.
Yes, 100%. Now, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't have mentors or align yourself, like you
For
said, with
sure.
people who can help you, right?
Yeah.
Knowing the right kind of people. But everything that you need is inside of you. So you don't necessarily have to go outside of you to find
Mhm.
that information. You just have to be confident, and not confident. That's not the word I like. Comfortable is not it either. I'll come up with a word, but you just have to know that everything that you need is inside of you. So let's talk a little bit about aligning yourself with the right people, because I think that is huge,
Mhm.
right? So oftentimes entrepreneurs, and you've done it one, two, three, four different times now, really in your lifetime, right? Four big times, if you will,
Mhm.
where you don't necessarily know everything that there is to know about promotional products or how to run a business or construction or diesel, mechanic
Mhm.
vehicles, or,
Or and
clothing.
even glitch mob. I know now this I will say is really out of my comfort zone.
Okay.
The podcast, I mean, just like the whole vision of glitch mob is a little out of my comfort zone, but it's something that God put on my heart and I'm going with it.
Right.
And one of the first things I did when I knew that I wanted to start a podcast was I reached out to you and I said, listen, I need someone that can help.
Right.
I don't know about like my first few podcasts, people are going to notice that my microphone isn't even on, you know,
Happens.
Like the
Right.
IT, like all that stuff. That's not what I'm good at. That's not what
Right.
God's gifted me with. So, the
Right.
first thing I did was I messaged you and I said, hey, I need someone to help me with my podcast. So you got me in contact with Brandy
Right.
with the Phoenix Factor.
Yep.
So that, I mean, that's part of what I mean by like aligning yourself with the right people.
Absolutely. And I feel like entrepreneurs sort of go into business with whatever it is that they're wanting to do, thinking that they have to be the be all end all for everything. They have to be the social media content person. They have to be the one who runs the business, who does the
Mhm.
HR, who
Mm-mm.
does the accounting, like all of the things. And that's one of the things that if I could, and I know, it takes money to, you have to spend money in order to make money. And sometimes the money just isn't there,
Yeah.
but you will scale and grow your business so exponentially faster and bigger if you align yourself with people in their zone of genius. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite phrases, right? My zone of genius is not social media. It just isn't.
Hmm.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do my accounting. I just don't, right? My zone of genius is connecting people and helping people grow and expand their networks in the communities that we live in, right? So when you find your zone of genius or you become an entrepreneur and you decide that you're going to be this person, align yourself with people who are going to help you to get to that goal,
Right. And
right?
time is your greatest asset. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
something you can't get back. And you have to figure out how to divvy your time up to your greatest advantage.
I agree.
And if I sat here and spent, 20 hours on editing a podcast, I mean, look at what I can get done in 20 hours on stuff that God's gifted me and blessed me with, with
Absolutely.
talent. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yep. What would take us 20 hours to do takes Brandy five
I
minutes to
know.
get done.
She's amazing.
She is. And every time I have a technical question, I'm like, yeah, yesterday, I'm like, hey, how do I download my Facebook Live? And she just sent me a text. She's like, here, this is how you do it. But
Right.
I didn't know how to do that. Right. So
Mhm.
again, it's knowing people and being able to reach out. And that's one of the things that I love to do. Like what you did is exactly what I want people to do. I want people to say, hey, I need, oh, let
Mhm.
me call Anna because she knows the person that I need or the service that I need or the connection that
Mhm.
I need to have. Or if I don't know them, then I have a slew of a network, a huge,
Yeah.
huge network of people that I can be, hey, I don't know somebody, but I know that you know this person. Can you get me in contact with them?
And you can't be scared to say, "Oh, I can't do this."
Oh gosh, no. Mm-mm. I
Yeah.
used to be because then I would feel like people would judge me and be like, "Oh, she's not capable." And I'm like,
Mhm.
I will happily tell somebody that nope, not my zone of genius. Don't
Mhm.
want to do it. Don't want to touch it with the 10-foot pole. And if I do, I'll muck it up. So we don't
Yeah.
want to do that. Let's find you somebody who is more than capable of doing those things.
And I learned that back with Richmond Promotional Products because in the beginning, I was like, "Okay, this is my baby."
Hmm.
And I had that mentality of if it's going to be done right, then I got to do it myself. So I was doing the financials, I was doing the embroidery, I was doing the artwork, I was doing Monica was doing everything. So
Yeah.
it wasn't until I let go and I started hiring people and started aligning myself with the right people, that's when my business really started to explode.
Yep.
And you've heard the phrase, you have to let go to grow.
Yes.
That is
Absolutely.
so true. That is
Yeah.
so true.
So do you think that was your biggest challenge is the letting go of
Yeah.
having to be the one who because we do have this mentality. It's only going to get done right if I do it.
Mhm.
And that's not true. So do you think that's your biggest challenge you've faced so far?
Back then it was. Back
Okay.
then it was. Now I see the power in it and it's not a challenge anymore. And plus people don't like to be micromanaged.
No, they do not.
So having that mentality of, aligning yourself with the right people, you don't have to micromanage anybody.
Right.
Let them do what they're good at. And, you do have to align yourself with people that you trust.
Yes,
That's a big
100%.
thing too, because if you don't pay attention, you you can hurt yourself, damage
Yes.
yourself. And there's, with being a business owner, there's a lot of risk that are involved. So you also have to be willing to take on that risk and make sure that I've always been a rule follower and I always do
Okay.
things the right way.
Okay.
Um, so I think it's important that don't cut corners.
Okay.
I think it's important not to cut corners, do things the right way. Because at the end of the day, God sees what's happening.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, make sure you've got the correct licenses. Make sure that, your
Right.
employees are legit, that they're
Yeah.
legal, make sure that you're insured.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to be smart. So make sure that you're aligning yourself with people that you can trust.
Okay.
Hmm.
So have you been burned by somebody in business?
Yeah.
How did you handle
That
that?
this is a piece of advice too. Be careful with partnerships.
Yes.
Be careful with
Yes.
partnerships. That was one
No
thing I
matter.
always told myself that I would never partner with anybody. Um,
Okay.
and then I did, I'm not going to give too many details, but I did partner with a few people on one of my endeavors and, it bit me. It came back and bit me in the butt. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that's a really good point of making sure that you have the right people. So hire an attorney to make sure that if you do go into
Hmm.
partnership with someone, and
Right.
even if it's your best friend you go into partnership with, or a
Hmm.
random stranger, or a partner, like a spouse or whatever, at the end, when it comes to money, at the end of the day, and if things go sour, it can get quite sticky, if you will,
Hmm.
right? But if you align yourself with somebody with a really great attorney, and you can put it very much in black and white of, hey, not that I ever want this to end, or not that I ever want us to stop being best friends, but
Hmm.
just in case, I'm going to protect you and I'm going to protect me if we were ever to dissolve this. Then it's very cut and clear. Like, this is what
Hmm.
you get, this is what I get. There's no ambiguity. There's no, well, you promised me over a glass of wine, that type of thing. But I think that's super important because we go in with trusting hearts, and we love it, we love that individual, and we don't think anything will ever go wrong, but it can, right?
Hmm.
And so you always want to make sure that at the end of the day, especially if you build a huge company that is extremely profitable, that because you put time, sweat, and tears into that, right? And so that all of your hard work doesn't go get flushed down the drain just
Hmm.
because you cut a corner and chose not to protect yourself legally. So I
Yep.
think that's and again, it's one of those things like, well, I don't want to hire an attorney because an attorney is expensive. Well, $1,000 today to make sure that
Hmm.
your company is covered will could save you millions of dollars
Hmm.
3 years from now,
Hmm.
right? So is it worth to spend $1,000 today? Which, yes, it might hurt because your company's just started, but if it's going to save you millions of dollars down the road, then why wouldn't you?
Mhm. And there's several attorneys out there that you can schedule a consultation with them,
Right,
and it's, $100, maybe
right,
$200. So
yeah,
go down, go and sit down with them for an hour and educate yourself. Knowledge is
absolutely,
power, and there's a lot of things out there that you might not be thinking of. So it's worth spending that little bit of money to sit down with somebody who's an expert in that area to kind of
absolutely,
make sure that you're aware of certain things.
yeah.
Um,
Because we don't know what we don't know until we know it, and
mhm.
usually we don't know it until all of a sudden we're faced with it, and we're like, "Well, I didn't think to,
Yeah.
I didn't think to do that." Well, you wouldn't know that because
Mhm.
you're not practicing law, or all of the tax laws that are available. Like, hire a CPA who can do your taxes and make sure that you get all the benefits from being an entrepreneur, but also make sure that you stay off the IRS
Mhm.
radar, right?
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
go and do it, you can make a mistake. Yeah, it's an honest mistake. But if the IRS comes knocking at your door and you're like, oops, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that, they're going to be like, okay, that's fine.
Mhm.
You're still in trouble, right? So
Yeah.
hire the qualified individuals, pay the money because it's worth it in the long
Mhm.
run.
And even more
So
important, why I say it's do not cut corners.
yes,
Never
agreed.
cut corners.
Yes. So
Hmm.
I was going to say something. It's because I find I love that you said that because you said you're a rule follower, and
Hmm.
I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, if you tell me, hey, Anna, you have to go straight, I'm gonna go right, and then I'll
Yeah.
go straight, and then I'm gonna make a left, and then I'm still
Right.
gonna get to the same place that you are, which I
Uh,
think is why we complement each other so well. But I don't cut corners. There's a difference between being a rule follower, like you have to do it this way. Like my husband and I get into this all the time. He's a CPA, a CFO of a bank, right? So for him, 1 + 1 = 2. There
mhm.
is no other option, right? That's it. For me, I'm like, well, we could do one, and then we can add, like 0.5, and then maybe point
Right.
0.3, and oh,
Mhm.
maybe no, let's do that something different, right?
Yeah.
So that's my personality. So I think if you're going to have, if you're going to align yourself with people who do things differently as well too, because what'll happen is that they're going to be able to see something from a different perspective, to where
Mhm.
you guys collectively can do something even better or grander than if you just were to do it from your perspective only. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So tell people a little bit about Glitch, what that is. And I'm so sorry, I should be wearing your t-shirt right now, and I'm
That's
not.
fine. I should probably be wearing my t-shirts.
Right. But I love it.
But
One of my favorite t-shirts. It says,
this
I
is
am
this is
enough.
where I'm comfortable. So Glitch Mob, I've been separated for about 5 months
Okay.
and I'm coming out of a toxic relationship. And
Yep.
that's kind of what, you know, kind of, I guess, initiated it. I don't know if I want to say that or not, but and I don't want people to get twisted. I'm not doing this because I can't get over my ex-husband. It's not that at all. It is during my marriage, I created these blinders and this glitch in my head. Like we had normal marital problems that probably a lot of people have. And my reaction to some of the things that happened, I reacted in a way that I didn't think I would react.
Yeah.
And put up with a lot of things that I didn't think I would put up with, but I did.
Hmm.
And some of it may have been because we were in business together and it was easier to stay. I'm
Right.
sure some of
Yeah.
it had to do with that. A therapist would love to get a hold of me. But anyway, coming out of it, I was like, I just created this glitch in my head that I didn't realize that I had created. And I didn't realize it until I was out of it. And I
Right.
looked back and I was like, oh shit, Monica, we need to fix this.
Yep.
Because that's what we do with glitches. We fix glitch. And glitch mob, honestly, glitch wasn't available.
Oh, okay.
I wanted it just to be glitch. And I was like, okay, I need
Okay.
to add something to it because glitch isn't available. So I was like, you know what? I'm trying to build a community and mob kind of goes with that, a community. So I was like,
Yeah.
glitch mob sounds pretty cool.
I like it.
So that's how that
I
came
like it.
about. So
Yes.
like I said, my podcast starts today. The first episode launches today, where you're going to hear my story or part of my story, and you'll hear why I started Glitch Mob.
I love
And we're
that.
going to have women who have similar stories. We're going to have beauty professionals. I'm all about taking care of yourself, taking care of your health, your skin. I have
The
an
vessel you're
autoimmune,
in.
huh?
Oh, I said the vessel that you're in. I had
Yeah,
no idea you
the
had an
vessel
auto.
that you're in. And that, I mean, I've always been very conscious about, taking care of my skin. That came from my mom. My mom
Okay.
was that mom that, if we went to Walmart or we went to, you know, I don't know, the gas station, she always had lipstick on. Like
Oh, love your mom.
she always just looked on
Put
point.
together. Yes.
Yeah. So that's where I get that from. And I noticed, I'm 46 years old. I love my 40s. But I noticed that, you got the wrinkles. I feel like my eyes are starting to sag and, you start noticing things.
Yeah.
So, I'm very big on, I like to get my facials. I like to, make sure I wash my face every night. I'm using the right products. I enjoy getting my nails done. I enjoy massages. I go to the gym to make sure that, I'm healthy, taking care of myself. And then 4 years ago, I I knew things weren't right. And I went to the doctor and come to find out I have autoimmune disease. So
Okay.
that made me aware of what I was eating.
Ah, yes.
So it's Hashimoto's disease.
Okay.
And I had to go, I'm supposed to eat gluten free, is what I'm supposed to
Okay.
do. And for me, that's hard. That's something that I'm working on. I know that when I do eat gluten free, I feel so much better,
Right.
but sometimes it's hard.
It is. Yeah.
So it's a full-time job taking care of yourself. But I know that
It
when I
is.
take care of myself and I feel better, I'm a better mom, I'm a better person, I'm a better business owner, I'm a better friend. Like my days just flow better. So
Absolutely.
with Glitch Mob, we're going to have beauty professionals on
Okay.
there talking about your health, your skin. We're going to be doing a podcast with Green Top Shooting Range.
Oh, fun.
Because now, as a single mom, I think about I've got to protect my kids. There's not a man in the house anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to have therapists, doctors on here, especially ones that specialize in narcissism, because that
Okay.
is a topic that I'm not extremely familiar with.
Okay.
I know what it's like going through it, but
Right.
I'm
Yes.
learning just in the past, I would say month, I have learned so much about the topic of narcissism. And
Gotcha.
not just in like a marriage, but like parental narcissism, narcissism between friends. I
Mhm.
mean, it's everywhere and it's something that I think we don't talk about enough.
We don't. Well, because
No.
it's hard to sort of like you, like it's hard to define unless you go through it. It's like one of those
Hmm.
things you won't understand until you go through it. But I think
Yeah.
the more no different than mental health, right? Like we talk about mental health and the more we talk about it, the more it comes to light, the more we can deal with it, the more we can recognize it, the more we can
Mhm.
help ourselves or another individual if we see somebody going through that. So I love your lineup and your thought process of the individuals that you want to bring to your podcast so that
Mhm.
you provide those resources for other women in our communities who and they get to see it and they get to listen to it without the judgment of and I say judgment, I don't mean judgment, but we can feel judgment. Like it's hard to come and say to somebody I was living with a narcissist and I allowed myself to live there, right? And I wanted to say this earlier when you said I would have done this, but
Yeah.
here we go, never, never say never because then you go never, never again, right?
Mhm.
We don't know how we're going to react when we're put into a certain situation. We hope that we react in a certain way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's how we're going to react. So having those very open, candid conversation, hopefully it will either save somebody from being in that position for too long or getting
Mhm.
into that position ever at all. Or if somebody who is behaving that way, maybe it'll be a light for them to be like, oh, I I do some of those things. Maybe
Yeah.
I should self-reflect and see if I can do
Mhm.
better. So I
For
love that
sure.
you're going to
Not knowledge,
provide this.
knowledge is power.
Yes. Oh,
Mhm.
actually, knowledge is power, but I like the saying applied knowledge is power because
Mhm.
we can know things, but if we don't do anything with it, then what then?
Yeah.
Right?
Words
So
matter.
applying it, words matter. Yes, they
Huh?
do. I love that. So
Mhm.
tell people how they can reach you.
Glitch on social media platforms, it's glitchmob15. Website is glitchmob15.com. Obviously I've got my little Facebook page. Our podcast is going to be broadcast over, I think it's 14 different platforms. So
Yep.
YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all those, Spotify. My YouTube is Glitch Mob Podcast with Monica Vanderpool.
Awesome.
So, and I can send you the links too, and we can put them in the
Yes.
comments.
Yes. So Brandy
Hmm.
will have those as well too. So when this gets published, you guys will be able to connect with Monica. Or if you're interested in being, if any of those subjects that she talked about spark
Yeah,
an interest in
for
you
sure.
and you want to talk about it, like reach out to her and ask her
Hmm.
to be on her podcast. I'm sure she would love to have you. Or if
Yeah,
you know of somebody, or if one of the podcasts that she does strikes a bell with you with somebody that you know, send it to them, right? And
right.
say, hey, you might want to take a listen to this and see
Yeah.
how it resonates with you. So
And right now, I was going to ask you this. Right now, I want someone who specializes in self-defense.
oh, I know several people who do.
All right, cool. We'll talk after
Yeah.
this then.
Okay, sounds good.
I know you would.
Ask ask and you shall receive.
I know you would.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for joining us at RVA Connected. If you're a business owner who would like to share about your business and your journey with other individuals and just get an opportunity to share that message out in RVA in Richmond here, Virginia, I would love to have you on. And until we see each other again next time, my friends, stay fluid. I'm always cheering for you.